You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Good morning, it's December the 15th, and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News, your cannabis and psychedelic news source found here at paceradio.net and 420pace.ca. Good morning, Riv Sydney. How's things?
Morning, we're doing good here in Nova Scotia. We're snow covered and ice covered, but we're doing good.
Snow covered, yeah, I know the feeling. I think we can pretty well, I think we're safe to say, even though it's still 10 days away, that we're going to have a white Christmas.
Oh, no, I'm not safe to say that yet.
Oh, no?
No, sir. Nova Scotia, our weather could change and we could get a dump of rain and I'll be gone in 2 hours.
Oh, wow. Yeah, my sister and my brother, they're about 2 feet of snow where they're at right now.
Where are they?
Northwest of Maine, here in Ontario. Yeah. We got probably about 8 inches out there, I guess.
Yeah, they might have a white Christmas, but this part of Nova Scotia, last year was the first white Christmas we've had since it's been a long time, 10 years plus, if not longer. And last year, last minute, we had a beautiful white Christmas. And then a lot of the years we have snow leading up to Christmas, and then in the week of Christmas, we get a big dump of rain and we have a green Christmas.
We do have some rain in the forecast, just so you know. So, yeah, I could be a little bit ahead of myself, but still, it's looking that way. All right, before I get started, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you're watching us on YouTube. But other than that, we should get started with the news, and the first story is ready to go.
Yeah, we've got an update about what's happening here in my home province. Coming to us from CTV News, Premier Tim Houston meets with the Mi'kmaq chiefs as tensions rise over cannabis crackdown.
Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston met Friday with 4 Mi'kmaq chiefs as tensions continue to climb over the province's push to crack down on what it calls an expanding illegal cannabis market that's operating both on and off First Nation reserves. A 2-hour meeting was held Friday afternoon at the headquarters of the Atlantic Policy Congress for First Nation Chiefs in Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia.
Member 2 Chief Terry Paul confirmed that he, along with the Glooscap Chief Sidney Peters, Potlucktuck Chief Wilbert Marshall, and Millbrook Chief Bob Glowad, met with Premier Houston, who arrived alone at the meeting. When it was over, Houston said the meeting was positive, but he was clear the province wasn't backing away from its position.
Houston said the number of unregulated cannabis dispensaries operating across the province is getting out of control, calling it a serious public health and safety risk with ties to organized crime. The status quo isn't working, Houston says. He went on to say that he's open to solutions, but didn't hear anything that addressed the government's safety concerns.
Number 2, Chief Terry Paul said Mi'kmaq communities want to build their own Indigenous regulated cannabis industry, operating independent of the provincial framework grounded in treaty and Aboriginal rights. Listen to what we're saying here, said Paul after the meeting. We have rights in this province. This is serious, and this is the path we want to take. And we want the province and the federal government to work with us.
Sounds like common sense to me, as far as, working together and they have their rights, all that stuff.
It would be
I don't
beautiful.
understand why the premier came out and said he didn't hear anything that sounded good to him.
Yeah, well, I think what the issue is, it's not necessarily the dispensaries that are on Mi'kma'ki reserves. It's the dispensaries that are operated off Mi'kma'ki reserves that are only 10% Mi'kma'ki owned.
Well, okay, yeah. Now, Paul says that Mi'kma'ki communities share concerns about public safety, but his community is not interested in partnering with the province and the Nova Scotia Liquor Corporation to run provincially regulated shops on reserve. Instead, they want a system that allows them to participate in the industry without fear of being shut down. Now, Chief Paul retaliated that the province failed to consult with them before announcing their enforcement directive last week, when Attorney General Scott Armstrong issued a letter to 13 chiefs asking for support to shut down the illegal or shadow cannabis market.
Both sides said they need to improve communication before making any big decisions. Which is absolutely right. And what I was saying here a minute ago is, like the dispensaries that are on Mi'kma'ki land are owned and operated fully by Mi'kma'ki people. The people that are working in there are, status holding, Mi'kma'ki Indigenous people. It's the ones that are off the reserves that started making eyebrows raise. They are not fully Mi'kma'ki owned. There's enough Mi'kma'ki ownership in there for it to, that they're trying to cover it. But a lot of them are owned by immigrants. So they're not Mi'kma'ki owned. And I think that's what's got the government raising their eyebrows. My guess.
Because, for them, why not allow them their own regulated market? That way it is regulated. There are requirements, all that stuff, just like under the provincial model, but it's be under the ones for the reserves.
And I think that's a smart idea. The Indigenous do have the rights to grow and produce their own cannabis. Maybe put some testing in place and say on the reserve land only. I think that's a good starting middle ground. But don't force the government-owned cannabis down their throats and force them to have an NSLC on their property. That's
what they want. Like here in Ontario, they have that. That is an option and there are some stores on the reserves, but that's probably about all that they're going to accept when it comes to the government in Nova Scotia.
Yeah. So I hope that a middle ground can be found. I like shopping in both places, to be honest. I hold no ill will. I will shop in the legal corporation. I'll only, buy from small craft growers, but these are the people that you and I have stood beside fighting for rights for cannabis, that have, now that things are legalized, they've gone from one side to the other, so they can stop looking over their shoulders. And I'm happy for those friends of ours that have moved into the legal world, and I will continue to support them in the legal world. But I like to go to the Indigenous stores too. I love to go to the Indigenous stores.
I say we have three markets.
Yeah, three.
We have the legacy market, we have the Indigenous market, and we have the legal. Market.
I kind of put the Indigenous with the legacy in my own mind. Yeah. That's where they were. The legacy was all part of but that's me. And I think that we should leave the Indigenous markets alone. Let's find a middle ground and leave it. The products are different. Like they are like it's still apples and oranges, even though it's all cannabis.
Well, as Ben says, the tomato theory, make it as legal as tomatoes. Right. So that's what we used to say years ago. All righty, time for us to get on to the next story. Here it is.
Here it is. Coming to us from Marijuana Moment. Legal cannabis access reduces suicide rates for older adults, new study suggests.
Stop. States that open recreational cannabis dispensaries saw suicide rates decline among older adults, according to a new scientific analysis of more than 2 decades of nationwide data, correlating, get that word out, state legalization to the decline The researchers noted a modest yet statistically significant reduction in states with legal access to cannabis. The research conducted by a team of public health economists examined monthly suicide rates from U.S. states between 2000 and 2022. Their aim was to better understand whether easier access to cannabis, specifically through licensed retail stores, might have any measurable effect on mental health outcomes. Their working paper, published in the National Bureau of Economic Research, shows that this may be the case.
Yeah. I know people that have been saved from suicide because of cannabis.
Yeah.
I'm one of them. The study found that in states where recreational cannabis dispensaries began operating, suicide rates among adults aged 45 and older declined. The effect was strongest among men, who historically have had significantly higher suicide rates and are more likely to use cannabis to manage chronic pain, a health challenge that increases the risk of suicide. Given that older adults are more prone to chronic pain and various physical and mental health issues, it is not surprising that this demographic is increasingly turning to cannabis for its medicinal properties, was noted in the paper.
The researchers found no similar pattern among younger adults or in states that legalized recreational cannabis, but had not yet opened retail stores. That distinction, they say, suggests that actual access to cannabis, rather than legalization via state law changes alone, may be the more influential factor. The researchers did not find evidence that cannabis availability increased suicides, a concern raised by opponents who claim that legalization leads to raising rates of cannabis use and worsening mental health trends among young people.
The authors also addressed the risk factors for suicide and the therapeutic benefits of cannabis in addressing those underlying factors. The focus on pain as an underlying cause of suicide is under-recognized in the literature and adds an important dimension to the policy discussion, they wrote. The study also arrives at a time when suicide rates in the U.S. remain near historic highs, especially among middle-aged and older adults. Though the decline associated with the dispensary openings was modest, the authors argue that even small improvements deserve attention, and boy, howdy, do they ever.
Mm-hmm. The paper, which was not peer-reviewed, was authored by Dr. Sarah Markowicz of Emory University and Katie Lettenbach of Demand-Side Analytics. Although further research is needed to explore the underlying mechanisms driving these effects, these results point to one potential benefit of legalized recreational cannabis, they wrote.
These findings contribute to the growing body of literature on the public health impacts of cannabis legalization, offering evidence that recreational dispensary openings may play a role in reducing suicides among older adults, particularly in the vulnerable subgroups, the paper concludes. To account for variables aside from the state cannabis legalization, the authors also explored and dismissed other potential causes. Their models factored in the real beer tax, real cigarette tax, and 3 opiate-centric policies, initial prescription limits, pill mill laws, and prescription drug monitoring programs.
The study comes as more robust research is being conducted related to cannabis legalization and older adults. Now, earlier this year, scientists found that cannabis users have superior performance across multiple cognitive domains, according to a new large-scale study funded by the U.S. federal government, with the effects of cannabis on cognition presented concurrently across a range of brain systems. It was based on data from 37,929 participants in the UK aged between the age of 44 and 81. The team found that cannabis consumers consistently outperformed non-users in a range of cognitive tests, suggesting that cannabis use may be linked to brain network patterns typically observed in younger individuals.
Interesting. This new study also comes on the heels of a study of more than 5,000 men whom researchers evaluated over the course of 44 years, finding that no significant harmful effects of cannabis use on age-related cognitive decline. In fact, the report says, Men with a history of cannabis use had less cognitive decline from earlier adult to midlife compared to men without a history of cannabis use.
There you go.
Use your cannabis, Al. Use your cannabis.
Use my cannabis, exactly. And, you know, they say cannabis can has anti-aging effect. And, you know, maybe that's part of it. Why? So
I got to share this. In reference to the previous story, Ben continues to say, you can buy and sell regulated tomatoes and tomato-based products. Also, you can grow your own and share them with friends.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. And he says that even just being in cannabis garden elevates depression.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that, Ben. Yeah. Use your cannabis.
I didn't close off the wrong story, but I see there's a story that is spinning on my screen and it shouldn't be. So no, I don't want to leave that site. Okay, it stopped. It stopped doing what it was doing.
Technical difficulties.
Yes, yeah. And you know, they happen when you're live, right? We don't eliminate the bloopers. Right? Okay, here we go. Next story.
Here we go. Coming to us from Normal. Cannabis oil associated with tumor regression in patients with advanced liver cancer.
Yep. A pair of patients with advanced hepatocellular carcinoma experienced spontaneous tumor regression following the daily use of cannabis extracts, according to data published in the journal Cannabis Research. Now, Dutch investigators documented complete tumor regression in a pair of patients with advanced HCC. Both patients consumed THC-dominant cannabis oils daily. Neither patient engaged in any significant lifestyle, dietary, or other supportive interventions aside from the use of cannabis extracts.
Spontaneous regression of HCC typically occurs in fewer than 1/2 of 1% of all cases. Wow. The study's author concluded, in this report, we present 2 patients, ages of 82 and 77, with advanced HCC with a high tumor burden who demonstrated durable and complete regression after use of cannabis oil. The observations in this report build on previous preclinical research highlighting the potential anti-tumor qualities of cannabinoids and stress the need for clinical trials investigating the anti-tumor effects of cannabinoids in cancer patients.
Cannabinoids have demonstrated well-established anti-cancer activities in preclinical models, but their efficacy as an anti-cancer agent has rarely been assessed in clinical trials, they say. So there you go. Good news. I always like when you get the good study news.
Yes.
All right. One more story to go before we go to a break. And I have got it already. We're going to travel into Europe, back to the first country that actually legalized cannabis.
Wow. Here we go. Coming to us from the International Cannabis Business Conference, Uruguay is considering legal cannabis sales to non-residents.
Starting in the first half of the 2010s, lawmakers in the Western Hemisphere began to modernize cannabis policies to permit adult use cannabis sales. The first local jurisdiction were the states of Colorado and Washington in the U.S., and the first country to adopt national recreational legalization measures was Uruguay in 2013. Now, Uruguay's historic legalization measure involved a multi-pronged approach to permitting adults to source cannabis legally. Adult cannabis consumers in Uruguay can register to cultivate a personal amount of cannabis in their private residences, or they can join a licensed cultivation association or register to make legal cannabis purchases through a pharmacy. Now, pharmacy sales officially launched in Uruguay in 2017.
Canada would eventually become the second country to legalize adult use cannabis sales in 2018. While Canada and Uruguay's legalization models are similar in some ways and different in others, arguably the biggest difference between the two countries' approach to legal cannabis sales is that Uruguay limits legal sales to residents only. Over the years, lawmakers in Uruguay have kicked around the idea of expanding legal recreational cannabis sales to adult tourists and non-residents. But the public policy change has never actually materialized. And this may be changing in the near future. Oh my goodness, there may be another country added to my destinations of wanting to travel.
They say that Uruguay is considering that the possibility that tourists and non-residents over the age of 18 who arrive in the country may be able to buy cannabis even without being citizens. You know, the executive director of IRCCA, which is the Institute for the Regulation and Control of Cannabis, Martin Rodriguez, confirmed that the agency is analyzing the possibility of expanding the legal cannabis circuit in the country, increasing the coverage of the formal market and weakening the illicit market.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, they say the inclusions of foreigners is at the heart of the discussion because those who visit Uruguay and want to use cannabis already do so, only they are forced to resort to the black market. Therefore, this discussion is central to considering the next step in legalizing cannabis, Rodriguez has stated, according to the reporting.
Mm-hmm. At the beginning of this calendar year, nearly 75,000 adult consumers had reportedly registered to make legal recreational cannabis purchases from Uruguay's 40 authorized pharmacies allowed to make sales. Additionally, a reported 15,796 adults were members of 460 cannabis clubs registered in Uruguay, and another nearly 12,000 adults reportedly cultivating their legal plants in their homes.
It just doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't you want to sell it to the tourists?
It's a large market. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, like I do, you know, I'm a helper in a head shop here in Nova Scotia, like just, you know, the casual person that goes in and helps to fill in from time to time. And, you know, one thing I'll notice there, people fly into Halifax and tourists, they'll look up cannabis, not realizing that they have to go to a liquor store here. And they show up at my shop all the time when I'm working. And, you know, it's what drives a lot of people to come to Canada to visit is the fact that they can do this. They can come and be a cannabis tourist without judgment. And they feel very free and safe here in this country when it comes to that. And I think that's a pretty beautiful thing.
Yeah. Like, I know there's some countries that forbid their citizens while they're traveling to consume cannabis. You know, like from one country, somebody comes here to Canada, it's not always acceptable for them to consume cannabis away from their countries, and they get in trouble for it as well.
Yeah. There's still a couple of them. We've reported on them that, you know, if you go home and have cannabis in your system to a certain level, like, I mean, that's it. You're in jail or dead.
Yeah. There's some countries that are like that. So. All right. One last message from Ben before we head for break. He says, eat as much oil as you can.
I do, Ben. I truly do.
Yeah. All right. Other than that, it is time for us to take a break. Time for you guys to hear from our sponsors and for us to have a tote. Other than that, you're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Education and News. We're live here at paceradio.net and 420pace.ca.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. Open Monday to Friday from 10 till 7 p.m. or by chance. Check out our flags, our t-shirts, plus our hats, and look of that supply of rolling papers, plus much more. We've got bongs and your favorite herbal vaporizers. Look at all the incense we have, as well as for those who collect knives, check out these knives in our collection. And while you're here, stop in to see Shay at the piercing room, where you can get poked by Shay. Daily deals, check them out. Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford, Ontario.
That way.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. Rerolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
And you're watching Psychedelics Cannabis Education News. Got another message there from our friend Ben. He says, "Good seeing you, Al." That's right, Ben and I we know each other. Ben organized the Oshawa Cannabis Day. That happened in that city many, many years ago. That was actually before, I believe it was even before I started the Pace.
Wow.
So you're looking like before 2010, 2008, 2009, in that area. And he continues on doing advocacy work as well. I know that he's doing advocacy work on the end of accessibility, barrier-free access for people with wheelchairs, and along that line in his area. So he's still involved in getting something done and helping patients. So
yeah.
All righty, you ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
Let's do her.
Let's do it. Let's talk about some rats. Coming to us from Mugglehead Magazine. Stressed out rats choose to inhale cannabis more than relaxed rodents. Interesting.
There you go. Look at that rodent there. Look at him, just puffing. Now, researchers have discovered that rats with high stress levels are more likely to indulge in cannabis than calm and collected rodents. A team of neuroscience scholars from Washington State University and the University of Calgary published a study in the Nature journal, Psychopharmacology, detailing this discovery last month, identifying behavioral and biological predictors of cannabis vapor self-administration in rats. Was the name of that article. Wow, that's a pretty long name.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We employed a rat model of cannabis vapor self-administration that uses whole plant cannabis extract and mimics the intrapulmonary route of intake typically used in humans, they described. In a controlled environment, the authors gave a group of 48 rats the option to self-administer cannabis by sticking their noses into a chamber where a 3-second burst of vaporized THC would enter their nostrils. They observed them daily for a 3-week period.
They say that we ran rats through this extensive battery of behavioral and biological tests, says author Ryan McLaughlin. And what we found was that when we look at all these different factors and all the variables that we measured, stress levels seem to matter the most when it comes to cannabis use. Now, the investigators tallied the number of nose pokes per day and to determine that rodents with higher levels of stress hormone cortisone were choosing to get high more frequently. Now, this cortisone, I'll get it out, is to rats what the stress hormone cortisol is to human beings.
If you want to really boil it down, there are baseline levels of stress hormones that can predict rates of cannabis self-administration. And I think that only makes sense given that the most common reason for people habitually to use cannabis is to cope with stress, McLaughlin added. This is not the first time Scholars from these institutions have investigated the impact cannabis has on rodents. In previous years, research from McLaughlin's laboratory at Washington State and Matthew Hill's lab at U of C have completed a series of studies examining the impact of vaporized cannabis on rats.
Notably, in 2018, McLaughlin and WSU researchers examined the impact of exposing a pregnant female to cannabis vapor and the cognitive effects it had on her offspring. They determined that the rats exposed in utero had more difficulty performing certain tasks once they had matured. There you
go. Interesting.
Yes, and the mice, I guess they get stressed out, the mice, and they poke that vapor button. Give me some more medication. Get me, relieve that stress. Right?
Be comfortable again.
Yeah, exactly. All righty. Going from mice, we're moving on to the next story, which is on.
Yeah, coming to us from Marijuana Moment. Alaska Psychedelics campaign ends push to put legalization on 2026 ballot, shifting focus to 2028.
An Alaska campaign says it failed to collect enough signatures to put an initiative to legalize certain psychedelics, such as psilocybin and DMT, on the state's 2026 ballot. But activists are emphasizing that the work is far from over as they shift focus to replacing the reform measure before voters in 2028. About 3 months after state officials cleared natural medicine in Alaska to collect signatures for the initiative, the campaign announced on Wednesday that despite months of tireless work, they were unable to gather enough signatures to place the Alaska Natural Medicine Act on the 2026 ballot.
Throughout this effort, we submitted initial signatures, mobilized volunteers across Anchorage, the Valley, the Kenya Peninsula, Haines, Juneau, and communities statewide, and built strong grassroots momentum, it said. Even with these tremendous efforts, we have determined that we will not reach the full signature threshold to qualify the Alaska Natural Medicine Act for the 2026 ballot. A spokesperson for the campaign told Marijuana Moment on Wednesday that organizers collected more than 10,000 signatures during the relatively short window to qualify the initiative for next year, but they won't have to start over again to make that ballot in 2028. All those petitions will still be good towards the roughly 35,000 needed to qualify.
Good. We are profoundly grateful to everyone who gathered signatures, donated, volunteered, or helped spread the word, the campaign says. Your dedication and passion have meant more than we can express, and we want to be clear. We are not giving up. Alaskans deserve safe, legal access to natural medicines for therapeutic and traditional use, and the freedom to make choices about their health with dignity, safety, and respect. Therefore, we are firmly announcing that we are shifting focus to the 2028 ballot cycle. While we won't be able to appear on the 2026 ballot, they say, we remain fully on track for 2028, and we will continue moving forward with determination, focus, and the support of our community, Natural Health Medicine says. Now, they go on to say that this movement is gaining momentum every day. In fact, over 65% of Alaskans support this initiative, and that number continues to grow.
An earlier policy outline from the campaign explained that the proposal is building off of Colorado's voter-approved 2022 Natural Medicine Health Act, under which facilitators recently administered the state's first legal dose of psilocybin. In addition to establishing a licensed psychedelics industry in the state, the Alaska measure would legalize non-commercial use, cultivation, and sharing of DMT, non-peyote mescaline, psilocybin, and psilocin among adults 21 and older under a so-called grow, gather, gift model popular among psychedelic reform proponents.
The measure shifts away from a restrictive healing center model, allowing the individual practitioners to provide natural medicines in their offices and at-home facilitation, increasing accessibility in rural communities that are common in Alaska, the organizer's policy outline says. A cultivation would need to take place in a space no larger than 12 feet by 12 feet and remain out of public view, and growers would be required to take reasonable steps to prevent access by minors.
Transfers of psychedelics between adults, meanwhile, would need to occur without any form of payment. Public consumption of the substances would be forbidden, subject to a civil fine of up to $100.
On the commercial side, Alaska would license healing centers, where certified facilitators would supervise psychedelic administration, as well as testing labs, cultivation facilities, public or product manufacturers, handlers, and other related businesses. Traditional healers would also be protected under the proposed initiation for ceremonial, spiritual, or cultural use of plant medicines through legal exemptions to state drug laws. They would not need to hold a state license, the proposal says, but must be certified or credential as a traditional practitioner.
The system would be overseen by a Natural Medicine Control Board, a regulatory and quasi-judicial agency that would be housed within the Department of Commerce, Community and Economic Development. It would include members from the public safety and public health sectors, as well as someone from a rural area, a representative of the natural medicine industry, an Alaskan Native traditional healer, a professional practitioner of psychedelic assisted therapy, and someone either from the general public or the natural medicine industry. A separate natural medicine advisory committee consisting of 15 members would make recommendations around the program. That body would include mental health professionals, natural medicine therapists or researchers, tribal representatives, a physician, military veteran, first responder, healthcare experts, and others.
As for traditional use, the measure would also create a traditional use council to develop best practices and educational materials around indigenous-based psychedelic use and harm reduction principles. That would include a separate credentialing and certification process that may include consideration of lineage, apprenticeship, community recognition, and cultural practices, rather than formal clinical or academic training. So there you go.
Interesting.
Alaska, missed out this time, but it sounds like it's,
they're working.
There. Yeah.
Yeah, they're working hard.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully they are successful in 2028.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, exactly.
Mm.
All right, got everything all lined up. Here we go.
Coming to us from Normal, cannabis use history not linked to elevated risk of prostate cancer.
Men over 50 with a history of cannabis use are no more likely to experience prostate cancer than are non-users, according to the data published in the journal Nature Scientific Reports. Investigators affiliated with the University of Maine's Miller School of Medicine assessed the relationship between the lifetime use of cannabis and psychedelic drugs with prostate cancer diagnosis among a representative sample of older adults.
Research identified a slight correlation between psychedelic medicine use and prostate cancer, but they reported no similar elevated risk among those who consumed cannabis. No significant associations were found for cannabis-only use versus non-use, they acknowledged. With the growing acceptance and accessibility of cannabis and psychedelics for both medicinal and recreational purposes, understanding their potential long-term health implications is essential, particularly for older adults who are at high risk of prostate cancer diagnosis. The study's authors concluded, our cross-sectional findings may inform clinicians to consider discussing substances use histories, including cannabis and psychedelics use, during routine health assessments and cancer risk evaluations in aging male patients.
There you go. Good stuff.
Interesting.
Yes. Being that I'm getting to be that older male category. All right.
We all get there eventually into that older category.
Yes, we do. I can remember the days of thinking, geez, it's going to be like 2025 by the time I can retire. Here, here it is, just months away.
Here we are.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Oh, thanks for the thumbs up there, Bob. Really appreciate it. Other than that, we got one more story to do, and here it is.
Here it is. Coming to us from Cannabis Law Report. MJ Biz. Ouch. Failed MJ BizCon crashes. Police canine dogs on the show floor.
Oh, wow. Dogs at a cannabis show? Here we go. Failed MJ Biz crashes as low traffic expo traffic hurts the Vegas show. They say the 2025's cannabis industry is in the state of survival mode, led by the nonstop black market gains, no federal policy movement, and billions in debt piling up for every sector. At no other time was there a greater need for industry cohesion and leadership. Instead, Emerald X delivered December 3rd to 5th. MJ Biz Con in Vegas was just another painful wound for the struggling cannabis sector, led by a collapse of Expo Hall attendance under 12,000, half of last year's already flailing effort. After 14 years, the MJ BizCon was just a con, not really a foundation to fight for federal and state policy justice to expand the $33 billion legal North American industry. Under Emerald's banner of another of its 50 diverse expeditions, the bad management from this clueless events company ignored a goal of a broader view of survival issues in conference content, or to moderate gates prices, still $400 to $1,400 a stretch for most.
By any standard, the MJ BizCon brand is permanently damaged, potentially beyond ever regaining the respect built over the past 13 years. And the topper was the greedy Las Vegas experience, the corporate overseers who have driven up prices for food, drinks, rooms, shows, and even parking. The onslaught of excessive price gouging, which has caused Vegas visitors to collapse some 20% in 2025. With parties at Cosmo, Encore, and NUWU, MJ BizCon found most insider action occurring outside of the convention hall, leaving unhappy exhibitors finding light traffic under 12,000 people and catering to many illicit West Coast MJ Biz growers.
Now, on LinkedIn, exhibitor Seth Don was revolted with show security writing. This is his quote. What the hell happened to MJ BizCon? This year, the show floor is empty. They have security chasing people down in the smoking section for smoking joints. It's a cannabis event. Yes, that's right. And stopped me when I was walking outside to the food trucks to inform me that there is no dope smoking allowed here. Then, and probably the worst of all, they had police canine units walking the show floor. WTF, he says.
Yeah. He said, this is my 9th year attending MJ, and this is just terrible. Worst show I've ever been to attached to the MJ Biz name. So the question is MJ BizCon dead? Drug dogs at a cannabis convention is a surefire way to scare off pretty much everyone in the industry. I don't know about y'all, but I still get PTSD when I see the narc units. LOL. What do you guys think? Is it time to say goodbye to MJ? And if so, what convention do you think will take its place? Asks Dean.
Yeah, now this is someone's experience, and who was it? It was posted on LinkedIn by Lloyd Covens. West 42 News. Well, there you go. Yeah, that's not good news.
No, but I mean, like, if you take a look at the way things have been going, I mean, even here in Canada, I can remember 5 years ago, I mean, at the beginning of the summer, if I wanted to drive out west, I could literally start in Nova Scotia, drive to BC, and hit something almost every day on my way out during the summer. There's always something going on. And now there's just not. Like, I mean, like all of the things that had happened, like, I mean, just didn't, they're gone.
Yeah, there was. I remember, like in Toronto, there was constantly something going on. Cannabis event, either it was at the Metro Toronto Convention Center, the International Center, or some other conference place. And yeah, it's all gone.
Yeah,
wow.
I'm curious. We've got a
There's
grow up
still some,
up here in Vancouver, so I'm curious to see how that's going to play out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Anything else before we say goodbye?
I don't think so. Yeah. Last week before Christmas.
That's right. Yeah. We will be broadcasting up. I think the last show that we have for Newswise, we have 2 more shows to wrap up the year. That's this coming Thursday and next Monday, and then we're done for we're shutting down the network on the 23rd. After the 23rd, there might be something that still runs, but as far as our regular schedule, that won't be happening. So
yeah, we'll be back next year.
Yeah, exactly. All right, and who knows? Maybe there'll be some changes coming in the new year.
Might be something fun.
That's right. Okay, all right. Other than that, that's the news for today. We hope you found it educational and informative. Thanks to our buddy Zach Campbellford Lifestyle Shop at ease.ca and Limestone City Hydroponics.ca. And to you, our viewers, for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Other than that, don't forget you can catch our next Brews broadcast Thursday at 10. I think you're not going to be.
I probably won't be here. I have physiotherapy that morning, so right. I might be late getting back. And we talked about it, so you might just do the show yourself.
I'll just do the show myself. Other than that, don't forget to educate, educate, and do not incarcerate.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.